Gottlieb Volley. Okay, whenever I go to single player games, the first thing I always check is in the back box. This is the ball unit. Look at this. Won't advance. And this thing is stuck solid. It won't even move. This is obviously why this game isn't running. Key problem here is this pivot point right here, the shoulder bolt. It gets locked up with old grease. Take that out, but you got to remove this nut, which I've already done on this side first, or you'll break the shoulder bolt. Here's the shoulder bolt. You can see why it's called a shoulder bolt. That goes back in there. Clean it all up. Put a little Teflon gel lube on it. And when you put the shoulder back in with just a tad of Teflon gel lube lubricant, after you cleaned out all the old white grease, make sure it's not too tight. There should be a little bit of play. See this movement right there? Because the unit has to step up and step down. If you got it too tight, that arm won't work. And then when we come over here and reset it, it comes back around. Don't forget, you got to put that nut on. That nut tightened is what maintains a little bit of play here. So that's the nut that you always got to remove, and be really careful when you remove it not to break the shoulder bolt, because a lot of times it will break. And they don't give those things away for free. Pinball Resource is the only place I know to get them, and I don't think he has an infinite supply of them. Now I also polished up the rivets with 600 grit and put a very light film of Teflon gel lube on those. And now you can see the unit steps up, like it should, and resets. Now also, when at the first position, make sure the snowshoe is centered over the rivet, which it is. And I see we're good to go. This is the AX relay, which is part of the reset sequence. There you can see it says AX. It's a latch relay. So you can see it pulls in and it latches here and then unlatches. So you want to adjust this so there's ample switch tension on this so you get that clicking noise. Here you can listen. Hear it? I want that clicking noise so it comes back with a good solid, it's not the in, it's the release right here. Listen. Hear that? I want that. And you got to make sure all the switches change state. If there is a make break, which there is one right on the top right there, those are the hardest to adjust. But you got to make sure that all the switches change state in each of the two positions. So again, you kind of gotta watch and listen. Hear that click back? That's the noise I want. But you can see how the switches change state from normally open to closed, or normally closed to open, depending on it. These actually look like they're all normally open on this side. They all change state. And then over here, of course, you've got the make break on the top and then two normally opens below it. And you just have to make sure that they all change states when you do this. Next relay was sitting right up here, right next to the AX relay. This is known as an AS relay. That's just the type of relay. The actual designation on this thing is something else. It's FS, but it's known as an AS relay. And what it is a miniature stepper unit. It does come completely out of the game with these Jones plugs, so it's easier to work on. But again, you have to make sure this advances. So what you want to do is clean these plates with 600 grit and then lightly lubricate them with Teflon gel lube. Make sure there isn't too much tension on these guys. I usually cut 1 or 2 winds of the spring off to make it a little shorter and make it a little more tense. And once you do that, it should change state every time you flick the relay plate. Now, this one's a little more particular because it's hard to see, but there's a switch in there. You see right by my index finger, you can see that switch in there. That's a make break. It changes state with everything, with every move of the AS relay. And what it does is it changes playfield features. So this switch can, for example, if we go to the playfield, maybe it'll change the state of these lights. Maybe this one will be lit, then this one will be lit, or maybe down here it'll change from this one being lit to that one being lit, and it'll go back and forth. Okay, but the main function of this relay is just for the match. except for that switch in there. Now, all AS relays don't have a switch. Some do. If it doesn't have a switch, obviously less important. Matches aren't really a big deal in a home use environment. But with this switch in there and the changing state on the playfield, it's real important that this guy work properly for the game to function right. Now we're done with the back box. We've done all the relays. We've done the ball count stepper unit. Put the game on free play. I am not going to touch the score reels until I can test them with the game running. It will be real evident if there's a problem with these. So now it's time to go under the playfield. So now we move to the bottom of the game. Just kind of look at each relay, pull it out, and look at this one. This one was really ham-fisted. I don't know if you can see it, but the blades, how they're all bent up over here. You see that? Maybe I got my light in a bad position here. Let me try and change the angle here. Yeah, you can see how the blades are all kind of mangled right there. So we got to straighten these blades out. Also notice, if we look in the way back there, see that? That's a transformer, a secondary. Here's the main game transformer, but there's that black transformer back there. That means this game came from Canada. Our friends in Canada, look, they even used square Robertson screws to secure it in the back. Robertson screws are a Canadian thing. I'm gonna hold back my comments about the fine land up north, but that we can just take out. That is useless and just consuming energy and making potential noise and problems. So we'll just take that out and straighten out these switch blades too. The other way I can tell it's from Canada. Look at this in the coin box. Beer caps. Alright, straighten out the blades as best I could. See, everything changes state. It's nice if you can get a nice click motion out of it. Seem to be getting that. So, I'll check all the other relays, make sure there's no more ham-fisted, beer-induced switch adjustment action going on. And now I've switched under the playfield. Of course, check all these relays so there's no manhandled switches. On the drop targets, these are all down except for this one. I want to make sure that these switches right here change state as the last drop target goes down. That's real important. You see how the target changes the state of those two switches right there? That's real important for replays and that. And set up for specials. So make sure that those go in. There's 3 drop target banks. And the last is this reset bank. You can undo these little wing nuts. This thing swings down. Just make sure that all the switches change state. I want to have fairly tight 1/8 inch gaps, and also that there's good switch deflection on the blades for each one of these, and that they drop. You see, they drop in pairs. At least these, and these drop in pairs. These are individuals. And the reason you can tell that is there's a missing relay here. So when you drop this one, it drops both of these. So you just got to make sure that when they drop, and you got to manually drop it like this, I'm just using a screwdriver to push the reset plate in, that the switches actually change state on all these. You want to do that and just check them on each one of them. Make sure the switches change state. Now I have it reset and have the wing nuts locked down, and notice the smooth edge right here. So this piece of metal and this piece of metal have a smooth edge where they mate and overlap right there. Okay, there isn't one sticking out. If it is, then you see that one was off just a little bit. It was down too much. So you got to bring it up and tighten that down so that it's smooth there. That's really important. You got to do that on both sides. Make sure that these are up all the way. So you don't want them down. You want them to be up all the way and have a nice smooth edge right there. All right, let's fire it up. Okay, ball 1. All right, so the object is to get through these lanes, each of the lit lane, and then it lights down here.
Right.
So when you get all 3 of these, then you start knocking down the drop targets for, instead of 500, you get 5,000. Then once all the drop targets are down, it lights special up here, which alternates using that AS relay
back and forth each lane. But the interesting thing is after you score it, you hear it, we won our game, it turns off. And the targets are all reset, so then you got to do it again to set up the special. So you can't just rape the special on this game, which is really interesting. In a lot of games you can, but this one clearly not. But a cool game.
Looks good.
On to ball 2.
Nice to hear it. Well,